What's up, you guys? I'm Natasha. This is the Kitchen Card at Shepherding Peppers Farm. Today we're going to be talking all about peppers. We're going to be talking about the different types of peppers that we grow. We're going to talk about what we do with them and how we use them. So let's go learn about some of these amazing peppers. If you are new to the channel, we don't just do peppers. We are a hobby farm. We are homesteaders. We grow the majority of our own fruits and vegetables. We preserve them and cook with them, and we just really enjoy living a little bit of a simpler life out here like this. So if you're new, go ahead and subscribe so that you can be notified when new videos come out on all of our homesteading, hobby farm journey type stuff. And let's go talk about what peppers we grow, why we grow them, and what we do with them. This is one of several beds that has a good amount of peppers in it as well. Our name has, shepherding peppers in it, so you can kind of guess that I love peppers. They're my favorite vegetable. This right here is an Italian pepperoncini. We grow these mostly just for the purpose of making pickled pepperoncinis. It's this time of morning where I'm walking through all of the spider webs that are still up from last night. It's not my favorite. Pickled pepperoncinis are great. We use them mostly in Italian salads, whether it's a traditional Italian salad like you would get at Olive Garden, or something like a cold pasta salad with salami and things like that in it. So that's my intended purpose pretty much for the Italian pepperoncinis. You can eat them fresh, but that's not what we use them for. I also don't grow an extraordinary number of these because I know how many we need. We only need like 3 or 4 jars of these up in our pantry for the entire year. So 1, maybe 2 plants is going to be completely sufficient for that. In through here, we've got, I would call them more of our hatch chili section. This bed is mostly full of hatch chilies, things like Anaheims, Guajillos, Poblanos, Ponca peppers, things like that. Seth calls them your Southwest type chilies. Hatch chilies are just another variety of pepper, kind of like saying a paprika pepper is another variety of pepper. If you think that all we do here is peppers, you would be wrong, but they are my favorite. I'm being harassed by a mosquito over here. So as I was mentioning, this is a poblano pepper, and then we've got a good batch of guajillos in through here. You can use guajillo peppers when they're green, or you can let them ripen, obviously. So we're going to go ahead and harvest those in just a second. And when we work our way down here, I think I saw one just a second ago, but they're kind of in blocks because I try to limit cross-pollination, and the best way to do that in this type of setup is to block plant. So for example, this section right in through here, these are all guajillos, and I will save seeds from any plants that ripen in the middle that are surrounded by the other guajillos. And over here, these are ponca peppers, and I will block plant those as well. Okay, here we go. Poncas are great. Ponca peppers, let me set that down. Ponca peppers are often used as a seasoning pepper. They have a much more intense flavor, and they have a much thicker outer wall. So what do I mean when I say they are a drying pepper? So when a pepper is bred to dry quicker, it's typically a seasoning pepper. Things like a paprika pepper, things like a ponca pepper, which ripens to an absolutely beautiful dark brown color. And you can see it's really wrinkly because it's dried out, and it'll do this right on the plant. You want seasoning peppers to dry out rather quickly, because when you are drying them, if you're hanging them like traditional paprika plants, you'll harvest them when they're red, tie them up with a string, and you'll let them dry out. If you don't have the proper environment, it's very easy to get mold on the inside of your pepper. So when you finally crack it open to scoop out the seeds and to blend it into a powder, you'll find mold in there, and that's not a pepper that you want to use. So with drying peppers, they've been bred over the years to dry much more rapidly, to ripen much more quickly than other peppers, to help prevent that step. Most of the time, we're going to go ahead and dry our peppers in the dehydrator, so that way we don't have to worry about that. However, you can still hang them if you wish. Ponca peppers are traditionally used as a chili seasoning pepper. They make a variety of wonderful Mexican dishes. There is a mosquito that is harassing me. Ponca peppers can be used in so many different recipes. They're outstanding. You can use them in mole sauce, you can use them in enchiladas, you can use them all over the place, and I like to grow all of the peppers, as you guys know. So these are great. Now you can use ponca peppers and guajillo peppers fresh. You can use them when they're green. I like to, if I have an overabundance, use ponca peppers, guajillo peppers, big gems, more of your hatch chilies, as your diced green chilies. So right here, this right here is a guajillo pepper. It's not fully ripened yet. These are the preferred chili to go ahead and make diced green chilies. Now, that's for us. You can use a different type of chili if that makes your heart happy. But you're specifically looking at things like hatch chilies when you are buying canned diced green peppers from the grocery store. So guajillos are my choice of pepper to go ahead and do that with. They can beautifully, they preserve really well, they're super easy to roast and then can. So go ahead and stay tuned, and we will be doing a video on making roast canned diced green chilies that you can put up in your pantry very, very soon. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna harvest as many peppers from this area as we can, and then we're gonna keep going. Because the sheep did get in here, they actually like the taste of peppers. I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't have as many to harvest today. One of the absolute best pepper growing tips that I can give you is to harvest your peppers while they're young. Some people will tell you to top your pepper plants. I don't agree with that, because when you top your pepper plants, you're gonna knock them back several weeks before they start regrowing fruit. Or you'll have people who tell you to pinch your blooms on your pepper plant, which you can do, or you can do it in the most fruitful way, which is where even if the plant is young, go ahead and let that little bloom go, and you'll end up with something like a teeny tiny pepper. Harvest the teeny tiny pepper. You can still use this even though it's not a big mammoth pepper. And as your plant continues to produce, like it's continuing to grow, keep harvesting your tiny peppers. And as you harvest, it's going to send signals to the plant to continue to grow and produce, because a plant's goal is to create seeds. It's to go to fruit. That's its whole purpose. So if you continue to harvest your peppers while the plant is small, you're going to send signals over and over to that plant. I need to grow, I need to produce, I need to be able to make seeds. So you're going to get this whole harvest from your plant while it continues to grow, and then you'll get bigger, larger peppers. And then you can go ahead and you can harvest them when they're in their appropriate size. But the more you continue to harvest it, the more that plant is going to produce for you. I had a viewer who left me a comment not too long ago who said, I tried your method of growing peppers and picking them while you're young, like you've talked about. And the previous year, I had gotten just an absolute crap harvest on my peppers. Because most seed packets will tell you on the back, you know, produces 8 to 9 peppers. What are you talking about? A pepper plant can produce so many more than that if you just harvest them the right way. And sorry, I got off on a little tangent there. But they were like, I got a terrible harvest the year before, and then I found your channel and I tried your way of growing peppers, and it's been so successful. I've gotten so many peppers, I don't even know what to do with it. And that comment made me so happy. So if you've struggled with growing peppers, if you haven't gotten a decent harvest, please try this out. I want you to have the same success that I have, because you should. You deserve it. These are banana peppers. We have 2 different types of banana peppers, sweet and spicy banana peppers. With sweet banana peppers, we just eat them as a fresh snacking pepper, or you can stuff them with cream cheese and chives, and they're outstanding. My grandfather, his mom was off the boat Italian, and he loves to take spicy banana peppers, stuff them with cream cheese and spicy Italian sausage, some other herbs and seasoning, and it is killer. It is so good. So if you've been wondering what to do with your banana peppers, that is my recommendation. Outstanding. Now, even though I put my spicy peppers in a bag like this, when it comes to sweet peppers, and these banana peppers are the sweet kind, I'll just take them and throw them into a basket. So I need to get that, and then we'll continue. So right in through here, we've got some more guajillos. Again, you can see just the crazy amount of damage on these plants from the sheep. So if you were in a different growing area, having your pepper plants topped, because that's essentially what the sheep did, that would be a big problem. Because if you have a shorter growing season, you want your peppers to kick off and do the very best that they can right away. Because having them topped like that is going to set them back several weeks on fruit production, because it has to put its energy into producing new leaves and the new blooms. It's just a mess. Not to mention, after initial topping like that, there's a recovery process that the plant has to go to, because it goes into an extraordinary amount of stress. It's just not great for the plant at all. I despise chopping your peppers down so much. Anyhow, it's a little pet peeve. Anyhow, we have an extraordinarily long growing season. Our first frost is expected in mid to late November, so I have plenty of time for these to regrow, and they'll bush out and it will be fine, but it's not something that I love. Thank you, sheep. These look like Anaheim peppers. Anaheim peppers are probably my second favorite pepper for making diced green chilies. They do a beautiful job. That's primarily what I'll use them for. So they get to go into the diced green chili bag. This right here, this is sun scald. So if you live in a very hot area or even an area that gets a lot of direct sunlight, peppers need these leaves because it protects the pepper plants from sun scald. This is basically a sunburn on your pepper, and the plant has now been weakened, the skin has died back, so this will rot. If you don't want sun scald on your plants, you either need to ensure that you have a lot of coverage, they're very bushy, very green, or you could provide some sort of shade cloth to help deal with that. Like if you're seeing purple on your plants like this, I see that a lot with new gardeners. They'll be like, why is my plant turning purple? What's wrong with it? Is it dying? And it's just the process of it ripening, the coloring entering the cell walls. That's what you're having there. The jalapeno is just trying to ripen. It's a good thing, because then you can make chipotle peppers. You can smoke them and make homemade chipotle and adobo peppers, which is what we do with our ripe jalapenos. So right in through here, these are habanero plants, this little section. And then if we come over, habanero peppers are something that we grow for making habanero peach jelly. We will make a habanero paste, and then I will use that in habanero ranch dressing when our lettuce starts coming in, because we eat very seasonally here. Oh, these are cayennes, because we did our habaneros. We use cayennes for two main reasons. One is homemade Frank sauce, which also makes homemade buffalo sauce. I have done a video on that. I can do another one in the future though. So we grow our cayennes for that purpose, but we also grow our cayennes for the purpose of making cayenne powder. We use a lot of cayenne powder in our house, not only as an additive to food, but you can make a tonic and a balm with cayenne. You can make a balm that has cayenne pepper powder in it, and it will warm the skin, similar to a tiger balm without like the cooling effects, but you can add menthol into it if you wanted to, which is great for muscle aches and soreness. But then also cayenne pepper as a tincture. If you find that your extremities get cold a lot, or you're having poor blood flow, if you put 1/4 of a teaspoon of cayenne pepper in about 4 or 6 ounces of water, depending on how much you can stomach at once, and you shoot that, you drink it down, it is hot, it is spicy, you're not going to die, you will be okay, I promise. And this right here is a buena mulata, which is basically like a purple cayenne. And then we have a bunch of Megatron jalapenos in through here. These are actually kind of on the smaller side for Megatrons. You can see because the plant is not super mature. So I'm going to skip down just a little bit. This isn't even a super big one, but you can see the difference. Megatron jalapenos are just, they're my favorite. I'm just going to say it. They're my favorite. And I've tried like every variety of jalapenos that there is. We've tried all the different color ones. So orange spice jalapenos, brown jalapenos, variegated jalapenos, Craig's Grande jalapenos, your standard jalapenos that just say jalapeno. They don't have any name on them. We've tried, gosh, so many different varieties. My seed collection is out of control, which you guys know, which is why we sell seeds on the website, if you didn't know. I have a surplus of seeds, certain varieties that I will sell since we have so many. Seed saving is a little bit of a hobby of mine, on collecting seeds and growing all the different varieties. I just love the garden, if you didn't know. Anyways, the reason that I am so fond of the Megatron jalapenos is because, just like their name says, Megatrons, they're huge. And when you have a really big, beefy pepper like this, you can do a variety of different things with it. You can can it and have canned diced green jalapenos to use throughout the year when you're cooking. You can stuff it with cream cheese, ranch, and bacon, and oh my gosh, it will be the most delectable thing you've ever had. This right here, this is a Vasanti's sweet habanero. Sweet habaneros have a naturally higher sugar content, so they taste sweeter. So if you wanted to include them in a habanero ranch dressing, you don't really have to add any sugar into it. I don't anyways, but it's just sweeter and it tastes better. However, my favorite use for Vasanti's sweet habanero peppers is to make tongue torch and nuclear sauce. If you've ever been to Zaxby's, they have excellent tongue torch and nuclear sauce. It's spicy, it's tangy, it's delicious. And I love to try to recreate store-bought hot sauces at home. Taco Bell's Diablo sauce and other Taco Bell sauces are excellent. Love to do that. And then tongue torture nuclear sauce. Those are really good too. And Vicente sweet habanero peppers are probably my absolute favorite for recreating a tongue torch sauce. I will also include some habaneros in it if I want to really kick it up to like a nuclear level. I made it the other day and my kid was like, my oldest, she's a hot sauce fiend, just like me. She loves spicy food to the point that I'm mildly concerned she's going to give herself an ulcer. But she is so obsessed with this homemade sauce that she's like, you have to do a YouTube video on this, Mom, because it's so good. It's the first time she said that specifically to me. The other ones are much more free about it. Like, oh, you should do this, Mom. You should put this on YouTube. But Layla had said it, so you know it's good if the teenager agrees. Vicente sweet habaneros. These are serranos. Serranos are very distinguishable as a plant because their leaf shape is so much different than the others. They're much smaller and budded together, so you can definitely tell what that is right here. This is a little batch of sugar rush peach peppers. No fruit to show you because sheep. So over in through here, we've got some Wonder Bell peppers. A lot of this is what I would call the paprika bed until we get to the end where I planted some new ones in. Over here on the opposite side, you can see our Capia sweet peppers. This is a section right here of Chortachero peppers. Chortachero peppers are one of two varieties that we will grow for making paprika. This one and the Capia sweet paprika pepper. So let's talk about paprika peppers. Like the ponca peppers, paprika peppers have been bred over the years to dry quickly. They ripen quickly, they dry quickly. They are wonderful for dehydrating or hanging to dry. So although you could make paprika powder from just about any type of red pepper, there are more traditional varieties of paprika peppers, things like the Capia sweet or the Chortachero. Those have been bred over the years to become paprika peppers. Because of that, you'll get some pepper snobs out there who will be like, oh no, a paprika pepper has to be this specific variety. The truth is, if you wanted to make your own homemade paprika and you didn't have anything but red bell peppers, go ahead, feel free. You're not going to hurt anything by doing it that way. It's probably going to taste great. It's just a little more tricky and more time consuming because if you you can't really air dry a bell pepper. Whereas with any type of paprika pepper, you can hang it and it will dry just fine. Most of the time, we stick things in the dehydrator now anyways, but you always have that option. The Chortachero and the Capia sweet, both being paprika peppers, have a thicker skin. That's not as pleasant to eat. So although you can enjoy them when they're small, they're really a pepper that's better for frying or cooking with because their skin can handle more of that heat, because having that thicker skin prevents molding when you're air drying them as you would expect with a paprika pepper or any other drying pepper. Two varieties that I've really grown to like. I wasn't really sure about the Capia sweet because this was our first year with it, but it's been really exceptional. We're at a place where I'm probably going to let the majority of our Capia sweets turn red. I wanted to pick this one in its younger stage to show you. And then the Chortachero pepper, I really like these for frying as well. They're really, really good. I feel like the Capia sweet is really just more of a paprika pepper, whereas the Chortacheros are great for both frying and enjoying and saving for a paprika pepper. The Capia sweets are more productive though. So those are our paprika peppers. So you're growing peppers and you're finding that your leaves are starting to look like this. You're seeing some drooping. You're concerned about what's going on. Let's talk about what this could be. It may start raining in another second. Okay, so I'm going to put a little clip in here for you guys as a reference for different sort of damages that you might find on your plant leaves. It's very, very helpful when you're determining what's going on with your peppers. We're going to try sitting under a trellis so we can talk about this, because even though it's raining, okay. If you want to think about your plants from a horticultural standpoint, you want to think about the type of environment that they're naturally going to grow in. Peppers typically would be growing in a place that's more of a desert type climate. Now that doesn't mean every pepper is just found in a desert environment, but the majority of them are. It's very common for you to find them there versus in the mountains. It can still happen. There are a handful of varieties that grow in mountains and things like that, but most often, the most common place you'd find a pepper is going to be in a drier place. And we also know this from other research and data and for studying the pepper plant for many years, is that they don't like or require a lot of water. Giving your pepper plants too much water is one of the absolute worst things that you can do as a gardener. I'm moving the camera to try and keep you guys out of the rain. Overwatering your peppers or overexposing them to water is one of the absolute worst things that you can do as a gardener. Peppers don't require constant 24/7 moisture. In fact, they prefer that their roots dry out a good bit before they get another watering. They do like a deep watering, but every so often. If they wilt, that's okay. It's okay if their leaves wilt. They like to suffer a little bit. Even if they're just sweet peppers, they like to suffer a little bit. Although it can be concerning if you see a bit of drooping on your leaves, it's also not the end of the world. And you can also find excessive drooping and yellowing from a lot of rain. When seed companies provide planting instructions, they're giving you the most general. So they'll tell you to plant your pepper plants if you are square foot gardening, 1 per square foot. 1 pepper plant per square foot is great if you live in an area that has perfect growing conditions, or if you're growing in a greenhouse where you can control the amount of water, where you can control the amount of rain. We're gonna have to carry this into the garage, and even though the rain is my favorite, it does cool you off. Okay, the rain is my favorite from the standpoint that I don't have to water, but you know, being soaking wet while you're filming also not a great thing either. So again, most seed places are going to tell you that 1 per square foot is going to be fine. And although that's true if you have the idealistic growing conditions, it's not necessarily true if you are more familiar with your climate. So a good example is where we're at here. We get a lot of rain, and you wouldn't think that Myrtle Beach, South Carolina would have a ton of rain, but I grew up in Washington State where you have this kind of constant drizzle. And we actually get more rainfall here in Horry County, South Carolina, than we get per year in Washington State where I grew up. It's wild to think about because you hear Washington State and you think, you know, the Pacific Northwest, rainy, drizzly, hiking, water, boats, and all that is accurate. But here we get torrential downpours when it rains, and hurricanes and tropical storms and all of this stuff. Hi, babe. I didn't want to lose my train of thought, so I came in here to talk about it. Since we actually get more rainfall per year here, I don't want to plant our peppers a foot apart from each other, because then they're going to be responsible for absorbing all of that water that comes down. So I will actually plant our pepper plants 8 to 10 inches apart. I will crowd them a good bit. And that helps them to survive when we have a hurricane pass through or a tropical storm pass through. We have all of these other situations where all of a sudden they're getting multiple inches of rain. If we hadn't done that, we'd have a lot more yellowing and a lot more dropping on our leaves. Even now, what you just saw out there was the yellowing and the dropping of the leaves because we just had a tropical storm pass through. Something that you can do to help that is do not overwater your pepper plants. If you live in an area where you're finding that you get a lot of rainfall like we do, where it just pours inches and inches at a time, plant them a little bit closer together. When you do that, you're going to have to be more responsible for ensuring that you are giving the plant the proper nutrients that it needs to grow. Because the closer they are together, although they will support one another in the absorption of water, and also as they grow taller, they're going to be competing a little bit more for the nitrogen, magnesium, and potassium that is growing within the soil. So you have to be aware of that. You have to notice if they are not growing as well, things of that nature. And then supplementing with water-soluble fertilizer like fish emulsion is a good option, or something like a 4-4-4, depending on what nutrients you have in your soil, something that you have to consider. However, consistently waterlogging the roots of your pepper plants is going to lead to them dying. So you kind of have to pick which method of growing them is going to be the best for your situation. Now, some people will tell you that if you're seeing spotting on the leaves, it's only ever bug damage. Oftentimes, spotting can be a sign of bug damage. It can also be a sign of blight, fungal infections. It can even be the leaf dying. When a plant is struggling, the first step in survival is to start dropping unnecessary foliage. And that means they'll turn yellow, they'll develop spots, and they'll fall. So although you could have that issue where you're having some sort of fungal disease on your pepper plants, it's not as likely as overwatering. So again, I'll put that photo in here so you can see that has the different images of leaves and what's that showing. And hopefully that will help you. Hopefully that will help you if you're having any sort of issue with identifying what the problem is on your pepper plants. Seth is so cute. He can see that I'm in the middle of a pepper rant, and he's like, I'm just gonna come back later. He knows. Because if you stop me in the middle of my thought process, it's very unlikely to remain the same. I can't pick up where I left off super easily. That's not in my nature. Even if all the knowledge base is there, I just can't do it. So what we're seeing on a lot of our pepper plants and through here is leaves that are dropping because of excessive rainfall, tropical storm. And in irony of ironies, I'm very thirsty. I'm gonna get some water. So yeah, this collection of leaves right in through here, I'm not worried about it. I'm okay with it because of the fact that the rest of this foliage on the top looks green. It's doing well. We're seeing new fruits. I will probably go ahead and hit this with a little bit of fertilizer this week, and that will help significantly with the dropping. If you're just seeing it where it's dropping and it looks like this, go ahead and put some fertilizer down. You can kind of see it right there too. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. The second I start talking, the rain picks up. Another reason I like to grow the peppers somewhat closer together is it helps support one another as they're growing. So I don't actually end up nutting my peppers or using supports on them because they hold each other up for the most part. If I have one that's particularly wobbly or didn't grow super well, then I may add some support to it, but it's a pretty uncommon thing. All right, here's another one for you. So you're seeing this right here on your peppers. So this right here is very similar to tomatoes. It's basically the same thing where the plant is getting too much water all at once and the cell walls of the plant are unable to absorb all of that moisture. So you can actually buy peppers, like there's a jalapeno that's like this specifically. It's like highly variegated. There's a word for it. I'm not remembering at the moment, but it looks like this all over it. And all it is a jalapeno plant that's prone to cracking with water absorption. You find this a lot when the plant has had sudden, intense amounts of rain and then it's just scabbing over. You can absolutely eat this. This is not an issue for you to consume the plant. It's just normal cracking. It happens. So these beauties right here, this is an elephant ear pepper. It's called that because it gets absolutely monstrous in size. It gets huge. But this plant right here is what I would consider not super large, so I don't mind picking it. But these get just mammoth and bright red and they're delicious. This is a Spanish mammoth pepper. These will get absolutely enormous. They also make an excellent green bell pepper. Over and through here we have some arroz con pollo peppers, which are a wonderful seasoning pepper. This right here though is a Gatherer's Gold pepper. These are delicious. Love these ones. This is that Venezuelan tiger pepper. These will ripen to a absolutely gorgeous red color, whereas these habanadas will get a bit more peachy in coloring. They're so good though. We'll probably start letting these ones ripen in the very near future just because they are so prolific and the plant has gotten large enough that I think it should be okay. That is a Lesia sweet pepper right there. These are supposed to be the world's sweetest pepper. On this crazy harvesting note, that is going to wrap up this video. I will see you in the next one. Bye, y'all.